Hello there. Do you seek out the supernatural? Are you unfazed by beings that break our very understanding of reality? Have you ever wanted to play a game of hide and seek, where the punishment for being found is death? Do you enjoy having staring contests with peanuts? Have you ever wanted to get your eardrums blasted out by children playing ear rape on their soundboards? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I have to ask, what the hell is wrong with you? And to also check out SCP Secret Laboratory. Secret Laboratory is a free multiplayer game that takes place in a world designed by that creepy guy in the back of your language class. A world where everyone and everything wants to either shoot you, mutilate you, vor you, decapitate you, or violate you. Based in the SCP universe, it's a game that tries, and usually fails, to be a multiplayer horror game and is instead more of a giant meme fest. The goal of Secret Lab is simple enough. If you start as a pathetic little human, you need to escape the facility. If you start as an SCP, your goal is to kill the pathetic little humans. However, actually accomplishing your goals are where it becomes complicated. In Secret Lab, each SCP has unique abilities and powers, while the humans are split into two teams which, while mostly peaceful to start with, will, just like in American high school, immediately evolve into a slaughter the second any of them get a gun. And, as the game progresses, military units will spawn in with the further goal of eliminating the SCPs. At game start, the humans are split into three classes. First are the D-Boys. They are made up of death row inmates, and their only survival tactic is stealing from scientists and begging SCPs to not eat them, which surprisingly works more often than it should. If, however, you only believe in murdering people legally and scientific experiments, you have a chance to spawn as a scientist. As a nerd, you start off with the tools necessary to help you make a quick escape, along with facility guards whose one and only job is to help rescue you. A job which they will almost always fail, as any guard who actually tries to help their team is, by definition, stupid and will quickly die. The absolute smartest thing you can do if you spawn as a guard is to abandon your team and hide out on the surface like a scared little child until MTF reinforcements arrive. Unfortunately for the scientists, the reinforcements generally don't fare much better. Most of the NTF will usually die immediately when a school shooter candidate drops a grenade in the elevator and kills the whole team. Anyone slow enough to have not gotten to the elevator tends to also be incapable with dealing with the SCPs, and satisfies themselves with gunning down unarmed D-Boys who just want to live. Although sometimes the D-Class get reinforcements of their own, in the form of edgy Russian military cosplayers calling themselves the Chaos Insurgency. Unlike the MTF, Chaos can, and usually will, shred SCPs, as not even reality-warping entities can stand against a dozen LMGs firing down a cramped hallway. And, like true Russians, Chaos cares little for individual lives, and you can expect to watch half their team die from friendly fire as well. And the best part is, Chaos doesn't even need to kill the SCPs to win. Only the MDF does. They just really enjoy their DACA. And for all the little edgelords watching, don't worry, there are plenty of overpowered human killing machines available for you to become. The favorite SCP is a peanut who can only move when no one is looking at him. He is, objectively, the worst SCP in the game, but everyone loves him because he was a ripoff of a Doctor Who monster. Also, the sculpture he was based off of actually had a crotch that was removed to make SCP-179 kid-friendly. That's right, they removed the nuts. The only benefit to playing as him is that there is a non-zero chance that some little toddler will simply run up and off their lives while chanting Lord Peanut as if he were their favorite Teletubbies character. Next up, we have a crying white incel called Shy Guy. He has such an extreme case of body dimorphism that if you even glance at him, you'll start screeching like an enraged little child having a temper tantrum before charging at you and ripping you to pieces. You also can't run away from him as he uses wall hacks like the spoiled little baby he is. In contrast to the virgin Shy Guy, we have the Chad Larry. Larry can no-clip through doors, teleport around, and is basically impervious to bullets. But unlike Shy Guy, he is out in the open about his bullshit. If you're between the ages of 10 to 25, you should be on the lookout for this big black SCP because if he catches you, he will take you to his dungeon. However, because he gets off on desperation, he gives you a chance to escape. 8 identical paths, 1 will set you free, the other 7 will violate your innocent backside. Good luck, you'll need it. Now we move on to 079, the closest thing to a licensed doctor in the facility. Having cut his teeth back during the Great Plague, he is back and ready to deal with the Rona, and unlike those wimpy vaccines that require 2 shots and yearly boosters to be effective, his cure is guaranteed to work the first time or your Ducati back. He is also a firm believer in fighting fire with fire, so once you're cured, you can help spread that cure like an antivirus to others, with the goal of eventually inoculating the entire world. What a great guy. Next up, we have what is technically a little girl. For you see, SCP-939 gives birth to cute and cuddly little children. And it's not like they are mimics only pretending to be little girls. They are genetically and biologically identical to them. The ones that don't get dissected at birth grow and learn and play like the little angels that they are until they reach the age of about 9. At which point, like the villain from a shitty anime, the monster inside them hatches. Because, you see, the little girl was actually just a cocoon. Once SCP-939 emerges, it will begin tearing the little girl apart, as if it's molting. This process is extremely painful. 939 will then eat the corpse of its former host in order to satiate its endless desire for human flesh. It will then use its understanding of English that it learned from its host in order to lure further prey to itself. So, if you're walking past a dark alley in the middle of the night and hear what sounds to be a little girl crying out for her daddy, do not approach. Now, you're probably wondering why I would bother giving you a backstory that isn't even included in the game. The truth is, I wanted you to have a taste of the suffering I went through so many years ago when I first discovered the SCP Wiki. And so you understand that when the blind doggy walks up to you and asks to be pet, you goddamn pet it. Do it for her. Finally, we have the computer, the only support SCP in the game. This SCP is the rarest one to encounter, because the meta strat upon spawning as him is to speedrun quitting the game. However, in the hands of a tryhard, he can be one of the strongest SCPs, as he can grant access to secure areas, close doors on people trying to run away from other SCPs, shut down a room's power, and even use the Tesla gates to zap people. The computer, like most people who spend their entire life online, is the most radicalized SCP and wants the blood of everyone, not just humanity, as he gains power by helping to kill both human players as well as his SCP comrades. This means that if anyone on the SCP team is memeing, he will be raging in voice chat at them the entire time, telling them to stop playing with their food. Failure to listen to them as an SCP might cause you to get a friendly little shock in heavy containment. If you spawn as the computer and resist the urge to quit the game, I highly recommend you zoom down to light containment and open the armory, because, as we all know, bearing arms is an inalienable right, especially for convicted murderers. Now that we have the classes out of the way, the single most important obstacle stopping you from having fun in this game are the server rules. Before you join a server, always open it and check to see what they consider protected persons. For you see, while most servers laudably protect minorities and women, some of them also include squeakers as a protected class. If you see this, please refrain from joining the server. Because while cyberbullying children sounds bad to the uninitiated, after 700 hours, I can say with a high degree of confidence that they all deserve to be. You see, children are pure and utter agents of chaos. If you encounter one, you should either shoot them dead or get as far away from them as you physically can. 1 second, they will be wandering around like a lost puppy, hoping someone takes pity on them and helps them survive. The second you turn around, they think they're playing Among Us, and will immediately put 2 bullets in the back of your head like the Gestapo. They also have no self-preservation instinct. If you're hiding from the SCPs in a corner with them, their first reaction is not to shut the hell up and wait for the threat to pass, but to helpfully, and very loudly, remind you not to talk so that you won't be eaten. This will, almost always, quickly result in you being eaten. As you may be able to tell, I have suffered greatly at the hands of children. In no particular order, that includes being team killed by them, both on accident and on purpose, having my hiding spot exposed by them, both on accident and on purpose, getting locked in a room for the entire round by them, never on accident, extending the round for an hour by locking themselves in a room that no one else can access, also never by accident, teaming with the SCPs to indirectly team kill, always on purpose, running through my hiding spot while being chased and exposing me, usually on purpose, using the intercom to inform the entire game where I currently am so that everyone can come kill me, again, always on purpose. In summary, I now hate kids, am a moderator on child free, and now believe that abortion should be legally mandated and forced on women. The extinction of the human race is a small price to pay for salvation. Moving on to the second worst age group, young teenagers. This is the hardest group to identify, as some of them can sound far older than they actually are. Chances are you won't even know that you're playing with one until a woman appears and they immediately devolve into simps. You see, older males either know that they aren't going to get laid, so don't treat women any differently, or hate that they won't get laid, and so execute women out of sight like the pathetic little incels that they are. But not young and horny teenagers. They will immediately do anything in their power to try and get laid with someone they never met, as they have not yet mentally developed the concept of shame. If you're between the ages of 12 and 16 and want to play Secret Lab, please remember that you are never actually alone, as dead players can spectate you, and not only will they cringe at your complete lack of social skills, but upon responding they may accidentally shoot you dead. At which point, one of the respawned players will inevitably be a horny teenager themselves, and the cycle continues. So please, for the love of God, if you're the kind of person to try hitting on women online, please do it like a normal person. By cybersexing in unmoderated anime discords, like the rest of the degenerates. Anyways, if all of this sounds fun, then just scroll to the description below with a link to the Steam page and try it out. I have also purposefully avoided going over any of the in-game items, weapons, or even how to escape. You're going to have to figure that out on your own, buddy. And remember, in Secret Lab, begging for your worthless life to be spared is a valid strategy.